Good morning students. Today we will be discussing stricture urethra part 2. In our previous lecture we have gone through definition, anatomy, etiology, pathophysiological effect of the tract, clinical presentations. Now we will discuss investigations, treatment and complications if you do not treat. Case scenario remains same. That means whatever scenario we have taken previously, 25-year-old male presenting with thinning of stream for the last 3 years and there is a leakage from penoscrotal junction for 3 months. Patient is having loss of appetite, puffiness of face and all the symptoms of the chronic renal failure for last 1 month. And if you took the past history, in past patient had history of catheterization which failed and subsequently it was followed by bleed. So far we have discussed about the probable diagnosis and the sequence of event. Now today we will be discussing that how will you investigate and how will you treat. Before we move forward, I must tell you that whatever we are discussing today has been taken from these learning resource material, that is the Bailey and Love, Campbell, the online platforms. So it is not me, it is basically the conglomeration of knowledge what I am going to present before you. What is your basic aim of investigation? The basic aim of investigation is to determine the location where it is situated within the urethra. Then what is the length, whether it is a short stricture 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, that length you need to determine. Then you have to determine the depth, how much tissue outside the urethra, corpus spongiosum is involved, because your treatment modality depends upon all these things. And then you have to determine the density. Now the density basically you determine by clinical examination, palpation. Unfortunately, the density we are not able to comment upon by any radiological investigations very correctly. So for that you need to have a very good clinical sense. And then subsequently you need to know what is the effect of the disease over our body, like due to back pressure. Are we having any features of the chronic renal failure? And of course, since you are treating, you should have objective record of urinary flow through uroflowmetry, and then subsequently you can follow it up after treatment. So we will be taking one by one. You need to do urine analysis complete to know about some pus cells, some blood cells, some epithelial cells, some crystals, all these things are to be taken care of. And then of course the culture and sensitivity has to be done, so that if you are going or you are planning some surgery, then you should be very clear that there should be no urinary infection or minimal urinary infection. Of course, gonococci you can look for. Nowadays it is not very common, but yes, you should see. And most importantly, the renal function test or the kidney function test, which includes the battery of tests, that means right from the serum urea to serum creatinine, sodium, potassium, GFR, each and everything you determine before you are going to treat such patient. Then you objectively record uroflowmetry, or what is the flow rate of the urine, and that is recorded through uroflowmetry. I will be telling you later and explaining you. Then you need to do radiography. That means you need to either do the X-ray after pushing the dye, that is what is known as retrograde urethrophy or the voiding urethrophy, or you need to do ultrasound of the abdomen to know for the effect of disease, as well as ultrasound of the penis or for the stricture of the urethra. Now you see, this is a uroflowmeter which has got a pressure transducer, and this pressure transducer patient is asked to sit and pass urine or asked to stand and pass urine. Then recording is calculated. So as you see the graph on the left side, on the down side of the slide, on the left side, you can see this is a normal uroflogram. Now, normal uroflowmetry, you can see patient passes urine or the person passes urine in one go, one flow, reaches to the maximum, then comes down. While on the right side, you can see the graph where the patient is not able to pass urine which reaches to the maximum flow rate. So, what should be the bladder capacity? It should be 150 ml or more, not less than that, you will be getting fallacious result, and if it is more than 250 ml, again you will be getting fallacious results. So, you should be very careful about that. So, peak flow rate, that means the top of the flow rate is 15 to 20 ml per second, and the average flow rate means you take whatever urine has been passed and calculate the amount of seconds which has been taken. Divide the total volume by number of seconds, you come to know about the average flow rate, and that is 12 ml per second. This is the normal value. Now, any value which is less than 7 ml per second is indicative of definite uroflow obstruction. Then we need to do radiography. The radiography, what we do? Dynamic retrograde urethrogram. Here what is being done? You push dye through urinary meatus, and while you are pushing dye, you take X-ray of the urethra. That is what is known as dynamic retrograde urethrogram. Then you do dynamic voiding cystourethrogram, means you fill the bladder beforehand and you ask the patient to pass urine, and while patient is passing urine, you click the urethra for the X-ray. So, what happens in the retrograde urethrogram, the distal limit you can know of the obstruction, and in the voiding you can know the proximal limit. So, when you calculate, you can know what is the approximate length of the stricture of the urethra. So, by just calculating through retrograde and the voiding, you can know about the length and of course, the location also. Whatever dye you are using, it should be compatible with the IV infusion, because this dye may go intravasate into the blood vessels. So, that you should be very careful about. Then penile ultrasound, though it is not very common, but yes, it can be done. It should be done. Why? Because you come to know the involvement of corpus spongiosum. So, for that you need to fill the urethral lumen with the xylocaine jelly, and then you put ultrasound probe, the high resolution ultrasound you do, and you come to know the involvement of corpus spongiosum, how much corpus spongiosum is involved, and what is exact length of the stricture of the urethra. Then ultrasound of the abdomen is done. As I have told you previously, because of the back pressure, there could be the hydronephrosis, hydroureter, or there could be diverticulation of the bladder. All the changes you can know through your ultrasound, and that is also important to know about the post void residual urine. Then urethroskopy can be done, which either you can use the pediatric cystoscope or for doing urethroskopy, or you can use the flexible cystoscopy, fiber optic. So, by that you can know the location and length of the structure of the urethra. Now, this picture I have taken again from the book, The Campbell Urology, and you can see this is the diagrammatic representation. On the left side, if you see, this is retrograde cystourethrogram, where dye is being pushed from below through meatus, and it is being filled all over urethra, and urethra is normal. On the right side of the picture, you can see the bladder has been filled and the patient is voiding, and in the voiding session you take the X-ray and you find that the urethra is normal. This is the real picture of X-ray after taking filling the dye or pushing the dye. On the left side, as you see, it is retrograde urethrogram, where the dye is being filled from meatus and X-ray is being taken, and this is the normal urethrogram, normal retrograde urethrogram on left side. Whatever thinning you are looking above near the pelvis, that is normal, and that is the membranous part of the urethra, and as you can see some sort of radiolucency within the prostatic urethra, that is basically verumontanum. On the right side, if you see, that is the voiding cystourethrogram. You can see the bladder just above the pelvis, and you again this is a normal picture of voiding cystourethrogram. Now this picture is showing stricture. See, on the left side you are passing a dye or pushing a dye through meatus, and you can find the dye is not going beyond a certain point, there is a complete blockade. And on the right side, if you see, the dye has been filled into the bladder and the patient is passing urine, and then you find that at the bulb you have got absolutely definite constriction or obstruction. So you can come to know the exact length and location by these two, if you compare these two X-rays. Then this is penile ultrasound. You can see the urethral lumen has been filled with xylocaine jelly. High resolution ultrasound probe has been put over the penis, and as you can see the diagram on the right side, the below segment, it is clearly showing the involvement of corpus spongiosum as well as the narrowing of the lumen of the urethra. So this tells you how much of the corpus spongiosum is involved. All these things are important when you are planning for your treatment modality. This is urethroscopy, whether you are doing through flexible or the pediatric cystoscope, and as you can see, as you pass through the urethra from meatus, you can find the narrowed stricture. Now, what should be the treatment? There are so many treatment options, and the treatment options, it can be dilation, simple. It can be direct vision internal urethrotomy you do through endoscope. Then we can put urethral stent after doing the optical ureterotomy. We can use laser. Then we can have open reconstruction, what we call as urethroplasty, and in that urethroplasty either you can put a patch graft, or you can use a flap, or you can excise the segment and reanastomose. So this all depends upon what type of strictures you are dealing with. So before we proceed forward, I again want you to see, because this diagram from Campbell urology I have shown in my previous lecture also, but I just for the sake of revision, you see on the top of the left hand, you follow that type A stricture only mucosal fold, type B stricture, that is the iris constriction all through, very short segment, type C stricture minimal spongy fibrosis along with the whole circumference of involvement, type D stricture, that is the whole of the corpus spongiosum is involved or fibrosed, type E stricture, the inflammation has gone beyond the corpus spongiosum, and type F where you have got the complication, that was our patient where the urethral fistula has been developed. So we have to take one by one. First of all, we will be talking about dilation. In dilation, whatever method you are using with, you have to be very careful that you should not produce further injury, because during this process, if urethral epithelium is injured, then it will again heal through fibrosis and will have more dense structure. So basically, you pass a guide wire, and this guide wire is passed over this catheter, the balloon catheter is passed, and then the balloon is inflated so that it creates a radial pressure over the strictured segment. And we have to be very cautious that you should not injure urethral epithelium. We can use metallic, or we have been using metallic bougie, but nowadays it is not recommended because it leads to shearing force and many times it damages urethral epithelium. After dilation, patient is instructed to be on CSIC program, that is clean self intermittent catheterization. The patient is told how he should do the dilation himself, and then patient is sent home, and this procedure is repeated every 6 monthly or yearly, and this dilation is suitable for type A stricture or at the most for type B structure. Then the next is DVIU or direct vision internal urethrotomy. What you do here? You basically make a incision over strictured segment through endoscope, and that is incision is made dorsally at 12 o'clock position or at the most between 10 to 2 o'clock position. So, what you do? You pass in a cystoscope or optical urethrotrome, and with the help of cold knife you make incision after passing a guide wire. So, that is how you do optical urethrotomy. This surgery is suited again for type B stricture or type C stricture, where there is minimal spongy fibrosis. If there is a complete spongy fibrosis, then this procedure is not effective and it will not give the good result, and moreover the urethral stricture has to be very short. So, that you have to keep in mind. And whenever you are doing this procedure, normally when we do cystoscopy, we are using glycine, that is aminoacetic acid, but here we should use normal saline, we should not use glycine. Why? Because suppose you are making an incision and this goes into the blood circulation, it should not cause any harm. So, that is why it is important for you to choose irrigation solution also, and after you have done the procedure, you put a catheter, and that catheter may remain for 3 weeks. By some urologists keep it for 3 weeks for complete epithelialization, some urologists keep it for only 1 week. That depends upon what is the depth of the cut they have made or what is the length of the cut they have made. Then some persons or some urologists put stents after DVIU, and these stents, for sake of your knowledge as an undergraduate, I must tell you, you should not go in great detail, that these can be either removable stents or this can be either permanently implantable. If the stents are removable, they are made up of nitinol and they are removed after 6 to 12 months. But if the urolume is used, then it gets incorporated within the epithelium or the corpus spongiosum, it remains there. These stents are only used for bulbous urethra, not for any other part. So, whenever you make a cut DVIU at the bulbous urethra, you can put the stent. This is the picture which you can see, that after ureterotomy the stents they are being put in, and you can see in the radiography as well as in the endoscopy and in the diagrammatic representation. Again, these pictures have been taken from the textbook, they are not mine picture. Then open reconstruction. Suppose the spongy fibrosis is more, type D stricture or type E or type F, or some complication has occurred, or the length is more, then you need to do open procedure, that is the urethroplasty, and again depending upon the length of stricture, either you will do excision and end-to-end anastomosis, or you will do grafting of the patch graft. So, I will be telling you this time about the excision and end-to-end anastomosis. That means you need to excise the strictured portion and then mobilize the urethra so that you can make a tension free anastomosis, and you have to spatulate. Means suppose this is a tube, and you have cut the tube from here, and then you have the other tube you have cut from here, and through reverse you have rotated reverse and anastomose. So, that is what is meant by the spatulation. So, that spatulation has to be done. It is suitable for type D stricture, where whole of the corpus spongiosum is involved, because there you cannot rely upon DVIU, and again the stricture has to be short, otherwise in the long stricture if you will make, there will be buckling of the urethra. You can see in this picture, again taken from the Campbell Walsh, you can see that in the upper diagram there is a stricture, the stricture is being cut, urethra is spatulated, both the two ends they have cut, spatulated as I have shown you, and they are being anastomosed. So, that is how this excision and end-to-end anastomosis is done. Then if strictured segment is longer, this excision and end-to-end anastomosis is not going to work, it will create tension. So, to make it tension free, you put a patch graft. Patch graft can be either skin graft, or it can be buccal mucosa, it can be epithelial graft, bladder epithelium. Some persons they have tried the rectal graft also, but the buccal mucosa graft is very useful, and it is being harvested from the buccal mucosa, and that mucosa is kept over the strictural part. That means you make an incision ventrally, you incise the stricture, you open the stricture, and then you cover the ventral part of the stricture with the graft, and you anastomose, put in a catheter. Usually this is very successful when the stricture is situated in the bulbous part. Why? Because there is lot of ischiocavernosus muscle which safeguards this graft. And this is a diagrammatic representation. As you can see in this diagram, the graft has been put in, whether it can be a skin graft or it is a buccal mucosa graft, and after putting in a graft, you stitch the urethra back. So, that is open reconstruction using patch graft. Then you can use flap, and I will tell you only one flap. There are so many flaps available, but I am telling you only one flap at the UG level. If you are knowing it, it is quite enough, and that is what is Orandi flap. Orandi flap mein what you do, you take the penile skin and you make a flap of it. It is not a free. This skin is lifted on pedicle which contains blood supply, and this skin is inverted over the strictured portion which you have opened and then resutured. So, this is Orandi flap. This flap is done for longer segment. If you have not treated your patient well, then you can have complications, and these are the complications, the list of complications. Patient may be having retention of the urine, which can be acute or chronic. You are knowing the acute retention is painful, the chronic is not painful, you basically detect. Patient may be having urethral diverticulum, as I told you, the pathophysiological effect, periurethral abscess leading to urethral fistula, as our case is. Patient may be having bilateral hydronephrosis, or patient may be having recurrent UTI because of the retained urine. When urine is being retained, the crystals they form the calculus. It can be either renal or it can be either a bladder, the vesical calculus. When patient is having lot of problem, doing lot of pressure over the abdomen, patient may develop hernia, hemorrhoids, or even the rectal prolapse. So, these are the complications when you do not treat stricture urethra. Now, we just, for the sake of revision, suppose there is 25-year, again this is our case, 25-year-old male presenting with obstructive voiding symptom for 3 years. An examination reveals that patient is having indurated urethra. How you will investigate? Just recapitulate. Right from the urinary analysis to the culture sensitivity, to radiography, to ultrasound, to optical visualization, all the things should come to your mind, that before going for surgery you should be able to locate the site of the stricture, the location of the stricture, the length of the stricture, and the density of the stricture. Now, again the second, 25-year-old male presenting with obstructive voiding symptom for 3 years, and examination reveals indurated urethra. You have investigated. Now, option 1 is type B stricture, that is iris constriction. Then option 2 is a short stricture segment, and option C or number 3 is long stricture segment. How you will treat each one. So, type B stricture, as I told you, you have got either dilation or optical urethrotomy. Short stricture segment, you have got optical urethrotomy as the answer, direct vision internal urethrotomy. If there is not much involvement of corpus spongiosum and it is a short segment, as the case is, and if the segment is long or there is involvement of corpus spongiosum, then flap or patch graft is needed. Then you cannot do excision, even excision, correct? If you have got any question, you can just put your question in the chat box, and believe me, I will be very happy to answer it. Whenever you are practicing your urology or a surgery, then you need to depend upon many faculty. That means you have to be in collaboration with the urologist, the nephrologist, suppose patient is having some sort of complications, the pathology, the microbiology for getting the investigations done, again the radio diagnosis, the anesthesia if you are doing any surgery, and of course you have to depend upon the paramedics, nurses and health workers. So you, apart from your academic knowledge or operative skills, you have to be very good at your soft skill and communication with these persons also. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you have got any doubt, please put your query in chat box. I will answer. Best of luck and thank you.